Tottenham have won the first North London derby outside of the UK, beating Arsenal 1-0 in Hong Kong and getting their hands on another trophy for good measure. Do you know how good it feels to sit here and watch Tottenham win these pre-season trophies and not have rival fans flood the comments on Twitter or wherever it may be saying, oh, it's the only trophy Tottenham are ever going to win? We were, I thought, very good in this pre-season game. I want to talk about sort of some of the things I noticed watching Frank, how we set up, and I think we can all probably agree that it was Tottenham's best performance in pre-season so far. I think the games against Reading, Luton and Wickham so far have been very, very underwhelming. I think for the first time in this win over Arsenal, we saw Thomas Frank at his adaptable best. We saw two very different performances from Spurs, both in the first half and in the second half. I think in the first half, we took more of a front foot approach. We were more aggressive, more daring and brave with the ball going forward. And then after we scored our goal and went 1-0 up, I think Thomas Frank changed things at half-time and sort of decided to sit a little bit deeper and let Arsenal come on to us. And the great thing about it, really, for me, is that although Arsenal had the majority of the ball and the majority of the chances, if you could call them that, in the second half, they never really felt like they were going to score. Vicario was never really tested. He never really had to make any decent saves. Arsenal's biggest threat, as usual, was from set pieces. I think we all know that is where they're most dangerous these days, and I think we handled it really, really well, and it's definitely a big improvement in the defensive side of things than what we saw for the majority of the season under Ange Postecoglou last season. Set pieces in particular were a big thing for me that I noticed in this game, and not just defending set pieces I thought we were a lot better at, but actually attacking them. I think we hit the post twice. Richarlison missed an absolute sitter from one as well. I think we nearly scored an Olympico, and to do that against Arsenal, who are notoriously known for being so strong on set pieces, is a testament to Thomas Frank's coaching team and his staff for the work that they've done since arriving this summer. And yeah, I was really, really pleasantly surprised with how we performed in this game. I think I came into it thinking, Arsenal are a lot better than us at the moment, so they're probably going to beat us, and they might beat us quite comfortably. But really, I think we had the foundations of a very good performance that I think we're going to see quite often in the Premier League next season. This sort of we will play on the front foot and we will get ourselves ahead, but then maybe if we need to at times, we'll take our foot off the gas and do a bit more of defensive duties to see the game out and ultimately get more wins on the board, which is what we so desperately need after finishing 17th last season. I mean, there were a few standout performers for me across the game. Pat Matasar was awarded the Man of the Match award, which I think he thoroughly deserved. He has probably been the best player and the most standout player under Thomas Frank so far in pre-season. In all four of the games, or three that he's played in so far this summer, he has been very energetic, very aggressive. He's been good in terms of both his defensive duties and getting forward. And his goal was absolutely sublime, by the way. I mean, it was great work from the forward line to win the ball back, and then Sarr instincts take over at that point when David Raya is so far off his line to lob him from the halfway line against your biggest rivals, pre-season game or not. I think it's a really, really good feeling being a Spurs fan and watching that happen. So that was fantastic to see. I also want to give a massive shout out to Mohamed Kudus, who worked relentlessly for the 62 odd minutes that he did play in that game. He just looks so direct and so dangerous every time he picks up the ball, and he has this weird trait about him that I haven't really seen since Moussa Dembele was at the club, where the ball will just stick to his feet. And it's really, really difficult for players to win the ball off him. And it helps him in an attacking sense as well, because he can drive forward into the spaces and hold off threats from defenders trying to get the ball off him as well. And yeah, he looked really, really dangerous. Of course, I would like to see a bit more from him in the final third in terms of either taking shots on or providing for other players. But so far in the games that he has played in the Tottenham shirt, it's been really encouraging. And Wilson Odobert, I thought on the left-hand side today, was really, really good as well. Again, it's so refreshing to see two wingers on each, the left and the right wings, actually take their men on and go at them and beat them for pace. And it provides us with a lot more option in the final third, whether it be crossing the ball, pulling it back, or having a shot themselves. I think Odobert had a very, very good variety of that. I remember one where he decided to cut inside and he hit the post. So that was really good. And then the other guy that I want to shout out is Jed Spence at left back. Destiny Udogie, his knee injury, we don't know the extent of how bad it is at the moment, but the talks are that he could miss the start of the Premier League season. And unless we go out and buy a left back before the season starts in in 2 weeks now, which, based on our transfer business so far, seems unlikely, Spurs may have to rely on Jed Spence to fill in that left back role, and I think he locked up Bukayo Saka really, really well today. And Max Dowman, I believe, actually looked a lot more dangerous than Saka when he came on. It's hard to believe that that kid is only 16 years old, or not even that, 15 years old, which is mind-blowing. In fact, he's 12 years younger than me. Absolutely crazy. But Pedro Porro good on the right-hand side as well. I think he had to face like 3 different wingers in Martinelli, in Reece Nelson, who came on, and Leandro Trossard as well. So that was really, really encouraging. But yeah, the main things I noticed was just Thomas Frank on the sideline as well. He was barking so many instructions and tactical changes across the entire game. And it's another stark difference I've noticed to Ange Postecoglou. Whereas Ange was very quiet and subdued on the touchline. I think he did a lot of his talking during the half-time team talks or before the games. But Thomas Frank is very vocal and very active on that sideline at all times, alongside his first team staff. And you could see him making changes all the time to the likes of Lucas Bergvall in particular, Pedro Porro, Pat Matassar. They were getting constant instruction from the sideline, which I thought was very, very interesting. It'll be interesting to see if that carries on every single week under Thomas Frank, or whether it's just because he's still trying to get to know his players and get them to do what he wants them to do. But yeah, Christian Romero and Van de Ven very, very solid at the back, and they had to be, because Arsenal in that second half in particular were really, really on top, and had a lot of the balls. I think Romero proved once again why he is so well loved at Spurs, and while he is regarded as one of the best centre-backs on the planet, he dealt with Havertz fantastically in the first half, aggressive, strong, and that was another thing that was a big, big difference to what I saw last season even under Ange Postecoglou, is the physicality. I know it was a North London derby, if you want to call that, and naturally I think the adrenaline and the levels are going to go up slightly because of who you're playing against, but Spurs were very physical. They weren't afraid to put a challenge in, and yes, it led to a lot of fouls at times, but you don't necessarily mind that when you're playing against such a dangerous team such as Arsenal, particularly on transitions. I think that was really, really good to see as well, us actually putting our bodies about and compete with our rivals on a physical level. That's something that's been missing a little bit. But yeah, Tottenham overall were impressive. I think the transitions left a little bit to be desired, particularly in the striker role. Richarlison, I'm just not sure he's got the ability to play in the kind of striker role that Thomas Frank wants. And yeah, with Solanke being injured as well, I really hope we can get some movement in that striker role. I know Frank's really keen to bring Johan Wissa to Tottenham with him, so that's definitely one to keep an eye on. But in midfield, I think it looks like that Bentancur-Sarr pivot is what Frank may go with, and I think is what's worked best so far in pre-season. With James Maddison came on very late on to play more of an advanced role, but Lucas Bergvall played more in that 10 in the first half. I thought he did really, really well. But yeah, it was just nice to see us stand up and compete and not take an inferior role against Arsenal, which is what I was a little bit worried we may end up doing because of how much better Arsenal have been than us in the last year or two, if that's fair to say, which I think it is. But we got our goal, and then I think Thomas Frank treated it very much like he would a Premier League match, and that's why we came away with the win. He could have continued to tell them to be aggressive and on the front foot, but he recognised that he wanted to see out the game, get the win, and that's exactly what he did. I think we used the time really well in the last 15 minutes, and like I said, Arsenal never really looked like scoring, but yeah, it was really, really interesting to see some of the ways that we passed the ball about and played. It was very much full of confidence from a lot of the players. We had a lot of width on the sides from our wingers this time around, whereas because I think where we're playing a better quality of opposition in Arsenal, we needed the fullbacks to maybe be a bit deeper. So instead of them playing high and wide, they were a bit deeper this time round, and it allowed our wingers to be wider. And then they also drifted inside with the likes of Sarr and Bergvall and Bentancur, who would help support that attack as well. And the recoveries were really good. A lot of offside traps in the game, particularly in the first half. Arsenal saw our high line and they tried playing over the top of us a lot. A couple of times it looked a little bit nervy, and that's something we need to iron out before the start of the season. But a lot of the time we did catch them offside. And overall, for a team that got to the Champions League semi-final last season, have finished second for like the last 3-4 years in the Premier League, I think we gave a really good account of ourselves, and we're going to have to play in a very similar sort of way against PSG in that Super Cup in a couple of weeks. So I'm encouraged and I feel a lot better about Thomas Frank and this team going into the Super Cup now. We've got Newcastle at the weekend and then Bayern Munich, so 2 tough tests still to come, and we will see if we can get now a consistent level of performance, which would be really, really ideal. But yeah, that is sort of what I noticed from Tottenham's win over Arsenal in pre-season. What did you make of the game? Let me know down in the comments below. Who was a standout player for you? And are you feeling a bit more confident going into the new season now? Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. We are on the road to 5k subs before the end of the season. So if you can help me out, that would be incredible. But for now, enjoy the rest of your week. I will catch you very, very soon for a new video. And as always, come on, you Spurs.